Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Moohead Radio Cleveland Browns post-game show. Final score. Well, this was actually a fairly respectable performance considering 23-20, a great loss, and Quinshon Judkins being lost for, I'm sure, the majority of next season, even if it's what I think it is. And I hope that's not the case, but it's not going to be easy for him to just bounce back from something that was too traumatic to show on CBS. It's really amazing to me, and I don't want to get the show off on a really bad tangent, but you could find a guy getting shot in the neck and assassinated from 4 different angles as a replay, yet a guy who's playing a game of violence, who players every year go down with knee injuries that cost them entire seasons, now suddenly, we can't show that because it's too grotesque. Do you understand that, Jim?
No.
I don't get it.
You mean an arterial spray is okay, but showing some guy's knee go backwards is not?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty weird. I'm going to wait a few minutes before I drop the mic on a subject that I give people an opportunity to come at me as far as to debate me on what I'm saying. And I'm going to drop the mic in just a moment here. Hey, look, Doggy's going to go for a walk. Thank you. I appreciate it. Huh? I fed him, and he just has his treat when he comes back on the shelf. Thank you. I can't walk the dog at its usual time, and the sun goes down so fast that we don't want to walk him in the dark. So
always good to get a Topaz the Wolf sighting.
Yeah, and he plays piano in the dark. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a couple. First off, the thing was that there was a ton of Buffalo fans there. Obviously, there always are when they play Cleveland. Short trip, cheap tickets. But when Dylan Gabriel came out, my comment I thought that was really to the point was they weren't booing him. They were saying moo, because you have a huge audience in Buffalo, from what I understand.
Yeah. That's a good spin, isn't it?
Knew you were going to comment on him, and he's your favorite player on the team. So
no, the Buffalo fans were cheering because the guy can do no damage to anybody. I highly doubt if he actually hurled a knife at himself that it would penetrate more than this, and it would just be a flesh wound. Not high on that player at all.
But I want to talk offensive line here, and CBS threw up a graphic which I thought was pretty intense here. So the 5 starting offensive linemen: DeJuan Jones, Joel Bitonio, Ethan Postage, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin. 4 of the 5 were out. The only one that actually played and who's started every game is Bitonio, who's likely to retire at the end of the season.
Yep.
If he doesn't, it'll be shortly after. Jones out for the year with a knee. Ethan out with an Achilles for the season. Teller missing his 3rd straight game, and Conklin has had so many injuries. I can't imagine he comes back.
Right.
So KT Leviston had exactly the same number of penalties against him as Jerry Jeudy had targets today. I thought that was he had 3 penalties of the 5 penalties.
And do you know that the offensive line coach of the Browns cited Leviston as being one of the most improved players?
Well, that tells you
on
how
the line
he was.
I mean, you're living in a fantasy world if you're not looking at this with your eyes. He's skittish. He jumps at, I don't know.
That was something of significance. I just thought that was like, that kind of jumped out at me when it happened. The other part is in stats, and you can kind of go over this a lot tomorrow, but for the team, the Browns had more first downs.
Yep.
They had almost the same amount of rushing yards. They were 4 yards less, 164 to 160.
Yep.
Time of possession was 35 to 24. we'll say 25, 35 to 25. Um, you know, Sanders ended up being 20 of 29. I'll take the 2 interceptions. That the one was definitely a bad throw. The one was
Back shoulder that was off
Yeah.
the shoulder pad to Judkins. That was his fault. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, all in all, now granted, he doesn't throw a lot of tight stuff, but there's hope for the future there if they can kind of keep him upright. But injuries are the rule in the National Football League. I mean, it's how do you come back? How's the next guy up? I mean, I think they might have found somebody good in Rocket Sanders there. I think that they might be he played some in the preseason for San Diego. But they were talking about that. I mean, it was, he certainly looked like he was doing something. But I think my takeaway from the whole thing is the Bills are just not this good. I don't know what the deal is, but they seem to be the eking out team of the league this year. So I mean, they barely eked it out against Cincinnati. It's just, I don't know, and it's something going on there, but.
All right, now it's time. We're about 6.5 minutes into this, and people will be watching the archive of this. The ultimate mic drop, the last word that will be spoken. All right. Your point is well taken that Buffalo is certainly not a juggernaut, but they are a team quite capable of running the football. They have a seasoned quarterback. I don't think that they're a magnificent team. And I think they're missing some components that they have on injuries, like every team in the league. But they are not what they were at one time. But then this is going to go back, and the last I want to hear from anybody about the quarterback situation in Cleveland regarding the Browns. And, I'll respond to this first. The O-line wasn't bad today. Looks like every O-line that was playing today, I watched a lot of games. Well, let's be honest about this. The O-line they were trying not to give them a chance to be bad because the second half, Shedeur played dump football. He just dumped the balls off on screen passes. There were nothing that was going to take too much time. And when they had to pass, and it was obvious that they had to pass because they were actually running the ball. They ran the ball for 160 yards of the ground today. So that is like having an extra, pass blocker in the game because the team has to, again, if you actually had an offensive line on this team, you could see in little glimpses of how it makes the life easier for the quarterback, for the offensive coordinator, and for other players on the team. But here's the thing that struck me. The thing that was said about the Buffalo Bills before this game was that they had the number one pass defense in the league. All right? Or maybe in the conference, the American Conference. And that was said over and over and over again. But they changed their defense today. They changed it. And the reason they changed it was number 12. And the reason that number 12 is responsible for that is because he can make big throws downfield. And they were determined to take that away from him, to force the Browns into second and longs, third and longs, and put pressure on the quarterback in must-pass situations. It almost backfired on him. But my point is this. Nobody ever had to change their defensive strategy for Dylan fucking Gabriel. I'm being dead serious about this because he can't throw the ball down the field. The very threat of a big play beating you in a close game is a huge advantage if you, in fact, have other components that the Browns don't have. For example, a proper head coach, a proper special teams guy, coach, a professional offensive coordinator, a scheme. There's a lot of things that the Browns obviously don't have. But for the ability of one player on the field who doesn't even have a good wide receiver to get that team, who had to win that football game. If they don't win that football game, and they barely did, but if they didn't win, they would be in the throes of real difficulty making the playoffs. And they wouldn't. They would have lost their opportunity to win the division, which is still looking like maybe a long shot for this Buffalo team because they're really not performing all that well. But they decided that they were going to take the long play away, and they did. They successfully did that. But in the process, the Browns' running game came alive. They started utilizing the clock and kept this game close until the very end. Now, as far as the end of the game, when, I thought Russo was on our team. All right. And you took a look at Cam Robinson, and here's to you, stupid Robinson. The guy, I don't know what he did on the play that Shedeur was backed up to his end zone that resulted in the penalty. But he's not even getting in people's way. He's whiffing. He's wincing and going in the wrong way. He's off balance, and he's incapable of playing the position. And you can see why in the must-pass situations, they knew they could win in the trenches because of our offensive line. But the interesting thing is we lose Quinshon Judkins, and Raheem Sanders comes in and takes right over. Looked real good. And there were holes there for him, and he was really pushing to get extra yardage. And that was great to see. But they changed their entire defensive structure because of Shedeur Sanders. And it wouldn't happen with any other guy on the roster. And it won't happen with a rookie quarterback that you hopefully try to draft and pray to the baby Jesus that he's not the wrong guy for the 15th time in a row. Okay? I have spoken. I am right. I am your God, and I own you. I own you. Or, as Charlie Kirk's wife would say, all right. She got evil eyes. Do, 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 do. One look at her. I don't want her thighs. Okay. Enough of that. I'll be nice because there are other people who have cuckoo, wacky eyes as well. And they're not Republicans. They're Democrats. One of them's in the White House. One of them didn't have any eyes whatsoever. He was the previous president of the United States who was like, he was connected to life support. I'm an equal opportunity guy. I am. I don't believe in any of it. So that's my argument about Shedeur. You can't make up arm strength or downfield accuracy. If you have that, you're one mistake by the secondary away from a score. And Buffalo couldn't afford that situation. And they knew it. And so it altered their plan. All right. So that's what I want to say about that. As far as the stats in the game, I mean, Josh Allen only had 130 yards, only 19 passing attempts.
They didn't have to in the first half.
No, they just ran right.
James Cook. There's another good stat about that, and that's one of those next gen ones where they're talking about, and the guys on the radio or on the TV, one of them talked about this right when it first started, and we've talked about this all year about Quinshon, about most of his yards are after contact. James Cook is leading the league in yards before contact per attempt at 3.0.
That's amazing, isn't it? When you compare that to Judkins, who's been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any other running back in the game. Yep.
Yeah. It's just
no offensive line.
I mean, with a I guess he was one of the leading folks. Looking at it again here, maybe it actually has Jahmyr Gibbs at 3.8, but still 3.0 is incredible. Yeah. And total yards before contact, that's what it was. Total yards, 820 yards before contact for James Cook, leading the league. That's amazing. Quinshawn is 32nd at 311. So, right ahead of Justin Fields, by the way.
And David, people are gonna bitch, and I'm not going to even entertain the conversation anymore. I don't care what reporters are saying or so-called reporters are saying. It's obvious that there are a few things at work as far as Shedeur Sanders is concerned, and I'll enunciate those now. He still holds on to the ball too long. If he sees something that's not there, then he should dump it instead of hold on to the ball. The second thing is he's not fast enough to be rolling sideways east-west and slow down to try to find somebody, because somebody from his blind side has gotten by an offensive lineman, and that's what happened on the one play that he couldn't see behind him. But you either have to decide, I'm taking off and going to get a few yards here, or I'm going to throw it away. You can't slow down and then still looking for a bigger play. You either take off, and he did that pretty well. He had a 49 yards with his feet when he didn't see something earlier in the game. But the problem is at the end of the game, when it really counts the most, and the team that is more experienced knows what they have to do, and the offensive line doesn't ratchet it up. The one guy that gets through, caught him from behind. And I think that there's a learning curve that goes with playing. Maybe he thought he had more time, but that's college. That's playing in an HBCU school, or that's or it's playing at Colorado, or it's but that's not the NFL. The NFL is elite. Every one of the athletes are elite, and speed is the name of the game. So, other things about Shedeur that I think need work. When I look at that pass to Judkins that ricocheted off him, it was thrown way too hard, which is unusual because he usually has a very nice soft throw, but he flicked that wrist and really fired it at him, and it was just off target behind him. And that caused, and there was no way that Quinshawn could stop that ball from being deflected in some way. It was just the bad luck that it went straight up in the air and there were nothing but bills around it. But that you can't do. And it's, and I'll tell you, the thing that stands out in the replay of that play is he patted the goddamn ball again. If he doesn't pat that ball and he just gets rid of the motherfucker, that ball gets right on the beat to Quinshawn. Quinshawn's not a receiver, first of all. You got to lay it in soft for him. And second of all, if you're back patting the ball, that takes the timing of your throw away. He's got to overcome that. And if that's his safety blanket, it ain't going to work in the NFL because, again, pat, throw. And you were seeing guys getting off their feet and knocking the ball down. And not because he's a fucking midget, like Dylan Gabriel is a midget. It's because maybe he's telltaling, giving away when he's going to throw the football. He needs to work on that. That's technique. And that takes a lot of reps because he's been doing it his whole life. And there was really no time this year for him to learn not to, because quite honestly, he didn't even get a look-see in the preseason. So be that as it may, and in practice before the preseason even began, But that's something in the offseason that has to be done. So there are things that he needs to work on for sure. Here are the things that he has worked on that he's improved vastly. First of all, he's proving that he can run a dump offense. It may not be the first thing that would be his go to, but in the entire second half, he was Stefanski'd to death. There were no real plays down the field, and everything was short pass. We're in this game and we can't afford to make a mistake. Therefore, you're going to play my kind of football. And he proved that he could play Kevin Stefanski football and lose a close game. Of course, others have proven it too, but the bottom line is that that's something that it was thrust upon him, but he proved that he could accurately and calmly throw those screen passes and get rid of the ball. And if he didn't see anybody, he saw daylight in front of him, he ran for first downs or got some considerable yardage out of the play rather than taking a sack. He's improved that way. His 20 for 29, partially because the passes were, shorter, but that's a good completion percentage for him compared to the 52.4 he was averaging percent-wise going into the game. He has improved his timing with a few receivers, not Judy, because Judy really isn't a receiver. He's a troublemaker. But with Fannin, yes. And he will have more chemistry if the Browns do the right thing and draft wide receivers and just stop talking about the quarterback situation. I'm bringing the Moose in here. Hello, Moose.
Hello. Feels like a win almost today. Because we didn't embarrass ourselves.
Wow.
And it was on national TV in America and on the air TV in Britain too.
Damn. What it looked like to me was a team that went with the reality that, oh my God, the guy dropped the open pass in the end zone that Miles Harden tried to give him again. I don't know. Exactly. Miles Harden, this guy who can't be on the roster next year, he's poor. He's poor at what he does.
The closer he gets to the red zone, the more he leaves people open. It's just unbelievable.
He gets cushions to people in the end zone. It's the weirdest thing, and I wish it would stop. But in this occasion, Knox dropped the ball. I couldn't believe it. And it was almost like the Browns came out on the field, their offensive unit, and go, oh
my God, we can win this game.
Yeah. It's like, where did he go? Oh, where did he go? What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do in this situation?
Yeah, we've never been in this.
We don't practice
We've
this.
Never done it.
We don't practice this.
We thought we were going to be behind by 4 touchdowns. We're not ready for this.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I
think the Peter Ellis play of the game has to be the drop pass in the end zone.
Fort Knox wasn't open that time. Well, he was, but he dropped it. Yeah. It's I don't know if I would trust that source. There's nothing that's been determined on what's wrong with Judkins, and
I was eating dinner. I didn't see the play at all, so I don't know what happened. I heard he was carried off.
Anybody who calls himself Mr. Profit Motive, I'm not going to quote you on the program. I mean, that we're not here to spread misinformation. I think the injury's bad, and I think I'll just kind of leave it at that. Now, David is saying Judkins has a fractured ankle and fibula per Stefanski. That would be good news.
Well, that's what I pretty much had a couple years ago. My fibula detached from the ankle. Wasn't very pretty, but anyway, yeah.
But the question is that all? Because
if he fucked up his knee, then
you get into a situation, a fractured ankle and fibula, but then you start looking up a little bit north of that, and that's the question. And
that ankle is concerning. The fibula is not. I mean, it's obviously a big break, literally a big break. But the ankle part is the part that that can require a lot of rehab with that fracture, especially depending on how bad it is. So.
Yeah, it depends on how clean it is. Because they put a couple of pins in, and I was walking around a few months later. So I don't have to play NFL, but
but I mean that would not be if that was the extent of the injuries, then
that would be all right. Yeah,
because that would strengthen bones, heal. But you don't know what's going to happen when you get into ligaments and all of that. It's a much different game. And I hope for Quinshon that he's lucky. And I know it's not lucky to break an ankle or a fibula. But that would be lucky compared to having joint damage, multiple joints like Nick Chubb did. I just explained what the positives were, okay, and learn how to spell.
Jesus
is right.
Can I just make a rude comment here?
Sure.
Because we can be rude on this program, and I want to say that anybody who still wants to waste a high draft pick of the Cleveland Browns on a quarterback, this is what you do. You look for the nearest. You go to your junk drawer in your kitchen. Every kitchen's got one. And I'm sure there's a Phillips screwdriver. You take that and you take the big end of the Phillips screwdriver and you stick it as far as you can go in your anus and then twist it around a few times. And then you try to unscrew the nearest Phillips screw you can find with your asshole. And that is what I have to say to these people. And I'm done. I don't...
You have to learn to ignore the noise, Now, David, I recognize what you're saying. And you can tell with a standard, and I'll play Dr. Moo here, a standard x-ray will show you if there are bone fractures, all right?
Yeah.
But you can't just x-ray something when it comes to ligaments. You need MRI imaging or CAT scan images. And he couldn't have gotten those this quickly. I just don't think that's the case. But, again, we have time to find out. And whenever I see a player pounding his fist into the ground, I know that it is a major, major injury.
The first thing they need to bring out in that situation is a towel to cover their face so they can start crying in private instead of in public, because that fucking hurts, and they'll know the seriousness of it.
Yeah, so Adam Schefter said it was a broken leg, and then Tony the Calf is jumping in, and that it was also reported on ESPN. So
there you go. Can I also give a shout out to the Carolina Panthers, who won in the most Baker Mayfield way possible by Baker throwing a last-second interception. So Carolina is leading the division.
The magic comes and goes with that player. And, look, I'll say this about Baker, because I have been honest about him, saying how he got a raw deal.
Oh, he did. Everybody agrees on that.
Yes. But at the same time, I'm not, because he left the Browns and a bunch of other teams, the Rams and the Panthers had, saw what it was, and they decided to go in another direction. And now that the Panthers would beat them, for God's sakes, with Baker on the field, maybe quantifies that decision in some small way.
Maybe Bryce Young's better to have on your team than Baker Mayfield. I don't know,
Well, but again, I try to be honest and balanced in the way that I look at things. I'm emotional, but I try to be balanced about things. And somebody like Baker Mayfield, you got to be able to be the same guy game in and game out. Everybody is going to have some ups and downs, but it can't be like a goddamn graph of somebody who's had a heart attack, high highs, low lows. You can't you can't do that. And too often he hasn't come up at the critical moment, and he would be the first to admit that. Because he's hard on himself too. So, and I think that this is part of it as well. is that he gets ramped up and amped up, and he wants to take that big chance. And sometimes you come out smelling like a rose, and sometimes like horse manure. And that's where you get the difference of opinions and fans. What I'm trying to say is, if you like the big play capability of Baker, Shedeur has that same capacity. He definitely, I don't know if you saw the throw that went to Corley on the sidelines before they started moving backwards. The first play that the Browns ran when they were trying to go down the field to actually take the lead in the game.
Wow.
The first pass, he rolled out and he flicked his wrist right on the money, like a 12, 13-yard pass to Corley that was right on the money, and he kept his feet in bounds. That throw you would never see by a great number of quarterbacks in the NFL. You've got to give him a chance to be nurtured, but you need the right people nurturing him. And you need to have the right person, not a dictator, but a person just treating him like a man and saying, okay, this is what we need to work on. And it's going to be hard now because Stefanski's not coming back.
I hope not. God,
no, he's not coming back. And if he is, the whole fan base will just go away.
Well, I'm done. I am so done.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like the team tried harder today. They didn't lay down and die. So I think we they didn't overtly tank this game.
But the offensive line let down at the end of the game, and I think that's just a matter of that Buffalo had that extra gear at the end of the game defensively that the Browns lacked on their offensive line, and that's a personnel issue, and that's something that really is, again, what we keep talking about over and over is the strength and necessity of having a better offensive line. The dream coaches. Yeah, exactly. But this is what's going to make it harder for Shedeur. And it's also, to be honest, it's made it harder for Baker. He keeps going from system to system to system. And now, for the first time, he's had a steady system in Tampa Bay, and he's been a 500 quarterback.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear anything more about Baker either. He is a 500 quarterback. I think it's real safe to say that when he is playing well, he's playing well. But when it all comes out in the wash and there's not a new offensive coordinator involved, or if there isn't a new team involved, that he is consistently a 500 player. And he consistently has up and down performances. And I'm not knocking the guy. I'm just saying time tells all tales. And it's what's going to make this hard for Shedeur is what's made it hard for Baker up till his Tampa Bay residency. And that's that. Yeah, maybe it's better he didn't get any reps in the preseason and in practices, because it's a defunct system that's going to be let go. They're going to let go of the coach, and you're not going to be running that offense anymore. Shedeur is going to get an opportunity to run an offense that might be tailored to his skills and his abilities. That's what we can hope for. But, time tells.
Well, here's a question for the panel, as it is. How attractive is this Browns coaching job? Because I think it's fairly attractive to somebody, particularly somebody that's not been an NFL head coach as of yet. I just wanted to see what you guys thought.
Well, what I could tell you about that is, it always comes out to who you pick, right? If you've got a lot of picks, it's like when you trade Herschel Walker and the team trades every one of their draft picks.
What, Mike Ditka or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, for Herschel Walker. Boy, you better hit a home run with that. And then it depends on the team that trades Herschel Walker, what they're going to do with those picks. And that's my answer to your question is, how attractive is the job? A head coach is going to want to be part of a team and is going to have an offensive coordinator and a system in mind, and needs to have the ear of the front office. Now that DePodesta is gone, going to have the ear of people so that the right picks are made to work within a scheme. And then they have to determine, is the scheme of the person they hire better for Dylan Gabriel or for Shedeur Sanders? And it would be hard for me to believe that they would go back to a 3-yard, 3 tight end formation after the Stefanski debacle. So, my gut feeling is the advantage to having the draft picks, of course, are nullified if you pick the wrong guys. But a head coach knows that the Browns have 2 first-round picks, and I forget how many in the first 2 rounds, 4 or 5 in the first 2 rounds. It's
pretty lumpy. Yeah.
And that's going to appeal to somebody who, and then he's got a defense that up until the last 3 games was playing really well and played really well last year. And there's nobody on that defensive squad who is like, and again, I'm interrupting myself in essence because things jump into my head. But you look at, guys that we thought we were going to have, JOK, who just went down, and we're not sure he'll ever play again. We would have been a much better defensive team with JOK on the field. But we didn't know how good Schlesinger would be, and he's turned out to be very good. So that same head coach who's looking at the job profile, he's seeing that he has a defense that maybe needs to be tweaked, and there's depth that's needed, but
not as bad as Cincinnati, that's for sure. I mean, they have the exact opposite with Burrow and Chase and Higgins.
Yeah, they have a quarterback and receivers and nothing else.
Yeah, their
and
defense,
we have everything else.
Is just atrocious. So there's definitely good, tremendous upside to that side of it. I guess the question is, with Ward being out again, how long is Ward going to be a part of this team?
Dead.
He just, the best ability is availability, and it seems like he's oft injured.
It's true of a lot of the players. It's true of a lot of the Cleveland Cavalier players. If you're not available to play, you're never going to make an impact.
I don't want to talk about the Cavs.
No, but for a potential head coach, I would think that if nothing else, you'd be coming in against it, into an organization that your team was a 3-win team in the last 2 years and has lost the confidence of the fan base. Yeah. And you've got those players to draft. And if you're a younger up and coming guy, you can improve that team,
Personally, I think it's kind of a 50-50 on that, Bronk. Because realistically, if the front office stays the way it is and influenced by the owner, I don't know that that's a place. No one's won here since the team came back. I mean, we've had a couple entries into the playoffs, but it's not the Jets bad, but it's definitely not good in any way. So I don't know. It's like maybe they can get lucky and hit the lottery on some kind of a thing, but a lot of it has to do with that like you said, Moo, the idea of the draft picks, there's going to be opportunity there. But then the question is, bringing in a free agent, can they bring anyone into this? Because, there's opportunities for you to play, but, one of the other stats that they had on the TV thing was that the Browns by far led the league this year with over 800 snaps more than any other team by rookies.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty intense. I was like, wow. But if you look at the rookies who played,
like that,
you've had 2 rookie quarterbacks, you've had a starting running back, you've had probably your number 1 tight end for the future, and definitely your number 1 defensive linebacker.
Yeah, linebacker.
Yeah.
Now the other reason that I think that a coach would be interested in the job is because if you can take the Cleveland Browns from a 3-win over a couple of years period, which is all the longer most Cleveland Browns coaches last anyway, but move them up to a 7 to 8 win team, and people will take into account that it was in Cleveland, that might actually do well for your future.
Well, if you take a 3-win team and actually make a wild card in like within 2 years, you're coach of the year potential.
That's
Like
right. Just like
Stefanski
Stefanski was. Yeah.
Yeah, you are a coach of the year candidate, regardless of whether you deserve a coach of the year or not.
So, but there's, and the guy who's going to get the job is not, there's a difference between a guy like Schwartz being named a head coach, and that's not going to last. It's kind of like Romeo Crennel, that he's not a head coach, and nobody is going to promote a defensive coordinator to the head coach position when they're coming off a season where they have to really build a team, a full roster. It's probably going to be somebody who's coming out of the college ranks who has some kind of good concept offensively.
Yeah.
And you may choose to stay with Schwartz if Schwartz chooses to stay with the Browns. That I can't even begin to guess. But
I think you really nailed it right there, Moo, because the change to NIL in college sports has really kind of turned that around, that a college coach now has to coach a lot more like a
pro guy,
because
they're
you can
pro
lose
players.
Your people.
Yeah.
And from one year to the next, it's very simple to lose a player or two. So, it's one of those kind of things that you have to consider. You basically have a salary cap. It just happens to be whatever the owner, whatever your fan base, your alums and supporters can afford. In a place like in Ohio State or Notre Dame, people have talked about Marcus Freeman as a potential candidate for a pro job. And, he's certainly done a heck of a good job at Notre Dame with although keeping in mind he has some pretty incredible resources there. But, and who's to say that, Ryan Day doesn't end up at some point in time, thinking that maybe it's time to move to the next level. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I look at a guy like, I remember when John Gruden was young. Okay. Every guy who gets their first opportunity as a head coach, it's not often that you get an opportunity to go to Tampa and the next season they're a Super Bowl champion. That is a rarity. A Tony Dungy situation as well. He's gone and somebody comes in and they still win. Usually it's a patch job and it's tough, but everybody starts somewhere. And, the choices the Browns have made for head coaches, when you're dealing with the Romeo Crennels, and you go through the list, and Pat Shurmurs, these are people who were, and God forbid, Freddie Kitchens. These were people
God forbid him, please.
I mean, there was no chance those people were ever meant to be head coaches. A head coach, it is a unique job, to say the least. You have to be a great communicator. You got to be able to work with people who are making millions of dollars and are putting their lives on the line by playing every week. You got to win the beliefs of your players. I mean, who was Sam Ritigliano before he came to the Browns?
He was a nobody. I hadn't heard of him before.
He was an offensive coordinator, game planner for a couple of organizations, but he was not really in the limelight for a head coaching job. And the one thing I can say about Sam, having spoken to him on a couple of occasions personally, not on the program, but personally, he had a skill set, and when he couldn't salvage McDonald as the quarterback, and when the offense went down, he was not a defensive guy. That was Marty Schottenheimer. When Marty Schottenheimer became a head coach, it started out, great. We had Lindy Infante.
Yeah,
but when Lindy, who was hard to get along with notoriously and didn't keep jobs for very long, went off in another direction to Green Bay, we were stuck with a defensive coordinator's concept of an offense, and things really dropped down, and we just started losing close games is what it amounted to.
Yeah.
You need somebody who knows and understands the offensive side of the ball, and that's going to be, and don't say Deion Sanders, because I'm going to kick you out of the chat room if you do that.
Well, I'd like to see somebody who's younger than 50, get the job. Somebody that's closer to the generation of what the players they're going to be coaching is. If we get some old fart, that's near our age, I don't think that'll work out very well. And I don't think Schwartz
Andy Reid.
I mean, yeah. I can't see that.
He is the walrus, cuckoo, cuckoo.
No, I don't. They were talking about that on one of the national radio broadcasts about, with that team has to retool themselves.
Yeah, the Chiefs got pounded today. They don't have Mahomes, but
By the Titans.
They got their ass kicked.
Well,
they got beat by the Titans too, but still.
Well, Minshew is down and out now. Minshew got critically injured.
Yeah.
In that game.
Oh no, he's not dead, is he?
No.
But
I think it's an ACL or something. I caught it out of the corner of my eye when I was just getting ready to come on the air here. So,
I mean, if we got somebody like Dan Campbell, who is like about ready to score a touchdown against the Steelers, and I'd be happy with that. And we all thought he was a complete idiot by his first press conference about how he wanted to break people's knees or whatever it was he said. And
there are guys who are defensive coordinators career-wise who they need to take that next step to become head coaches. And I'll give you a good example of that. Now, I understand what's the Jets we're talking about, but Saleh is a really good defensive coordinator. But the mindset of Saleh is to break people's bones. And the intricacies of offense and teaching and being patient with people, that's not part of his strength. So it's really, you have to be a balanced person who's willing to delegate things that you know less about. The problem with Stefanski, he thinks he knows more than he knows. And he tries to control things, and he's not good at those things.
Well, he's stubborn as fuck is what he is.
Yeah. And he can't, in this game, at this time in history, this is not the Vince Lombardi, go in there and spit on it and rub dirt on it and play. But it's broken. You didn't hear me, did you? Get the fuck out of here. You're never going to play for the rest of the season. That kind of Forrest Gregg shit, not going to cut it in 2025. So it's a hard job. And I'm not going to be overly critical about Kevin Stefanski. In one regard, it's a tough job. But in the other, if you know what it's like? It's kind of like being a porn star. And I try to make
you're speaking from experience here.
Well, I know a lot about that too. Yeah.
There you go.
Having watched many hours of.
So, all right, let's say you're a fat porn star, and see, I'm being inclusive. Hammer time. I'm being inclusive.
Hey, there's a niche for everything. Okay, just letting you know.
And if you got one good shot in you,
it only takes one shot.
Yeah, but what if it's not lit right? What if a big pimple is showing on the ass of the woman you're doing, and and it's like, well, we need you to get back on there. And it's like, it's like you got to have bounce back capability to be a porn star. You got to have a kind of extended mentality to be a head coach, and Kevin Stefanski doesn't have that. And
he's no Kaz Tadano, is he?
But the reason that so many teams keep looking for new coaches is because they're hard to find. And that's why Kevin will get a job.
Well, they're hard to find because they're like quarterbacks are hard to find,
Yeah.
So there are a lot of the same attributes needed: poise under pressure, being able to process quickly, being able to manage people.
Well, Boy, this is talk about a hot take, Adam. Dude.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Hey, the Lions just
That would be
scored
nice.
against the Steelers.
I thought Sanders, not Shador, the running back, really showed the ability to get upfield and to run in a straight line and get the yardage that was given to him. But Travion, when he caught a pass, he should have gotten at least 10 to 12 more yards, but he didn't have elusiveness in the open field. That screen pass I'm referring to, one cut, and again, Dylan Sampson would have taken that 30, 40 yards. So
you know what else they
Yeah.
need? They need David fucking Puntney. I'm telling you. Larvidan on that punt that he fielded basically at the 47 of the Browns when
Yep.
they got the sack on Allen back to the goal line.
yeah,
And he goes left and right. Just go fucking forward for 5 yards, for Christ's sake.
he doesn't have the speed to be able to do that.
I'm like, it would be nice. I mean, I know Corley was supposed to be that. Didn't they have somebody else that got hurt in the preseason that was supposed to be that?
Oh, every year.
Yeah, it's the guy from the Bears or whatever.
Oh, but he was injured so many times he wasn't fast anymore. We saw him play, and he didn't have any breakaway ability. And they've just settled on Corley, who's kind of like. Do you remember a guy we had who was a kick returner? I see his number 84, and his last name was Young. And he played for the Browns in the 80s. And he was a straightforward guy. And for some reason, I want to say maybe he came from the Eagles and he ended up with the Browns. But somebody should look that up. Kick returner, last name of Young. And I want to say that it was during the Marty Schottenheimer years. But he was a straightforward guy. He wasn't going to break anything, but he was going to get, whatever yardage there was with just sheer momentum, And let's see what Jeffrey here says. It seems like Shador hit a little bit of a wall or a ceiling because he's still doing the same thing, holding onto the ball way too long. This, unfortunately, is not something that is you're put into a situation where you want to win a game, and there's a fine balance to the whole thing. And you saw in a situation, even a seasoned quarterback, the Bills quarterback, Josh Allen, when he was sacked by Schwesinger.
Wow.
He didn't get rid of that ball. He ate it.
Young, by the way.
Glenn Young, yeah.
Glenn Young played with the Eagles and the Browns. That's a freaking pull, Moo.
I don't remember him at all.
Pull. Yeah, that's incredible. Played with the Browns for the most part of 3 seasons, 85, 87, and 88. Played a little bit in 84. Played with the Eagles in 83. That dude, man, that is a pull and a half, boss.
Wow. I don't remember.
He was the ultimate straightforward north-south guy, all right? Whereas, we all know that Eric Metcalf was,
Eric
the
Metcalf.
Guy
you had obviously Josh Cribbs, Randy Baldwin. We've had some pretty good guys over the years. It's just,
but back then, I think Glenn Young was like a 27, 28 yard per return guy. That was, but usually we would get the ball right up around 30-yard line before all these rule changes and all. And sometimes if he hit something, a wedge going forward, he'd get it up to the 35 or 37-yard line, but which was good enough field position for a guy like Bernie Kosar. But you see, the problem we have is that there is no real risk for the Buffalo Bills to go for that fourth down, and it should have been a touchdown because Miles Harden was fiddling with his penis. But the guy drops the pass, but we're like 88 yards away from the end zone. And it's too soon, too early in Shador's career with the offensive line that's in front of him to pull that out. And that right now is the thing that hurts the Browns, is that the Bills are not going to give up the big play to Shador. and they picked up their intensity. Give them credit, and the offensive line couldn't match it. So
yeah. So here's a nice looking at this. The leading kick returners, okay, for the Browns since Josh Cribbs left, which Josh Cribbs is pretty much the thing. No one's had more than Jerome Ford did in 22. He had 723 yards. No one's been over 500 total yards, and they've pretty much done it by committee. It's just because they've gotten a lot of kickoff returns over the years because they give up a lot of points. So and it just seems like they just throw a whole bunch of different people back there. There's
it's a practice squad position, but with the changes in the kickoff rules. And you can see the damage that teams have done to the Browns with field position, if not flat out scores on special teams, on punt and kickoff returns. Now, they need to find, I don't know why they have trouble finding speed players, people who are fast, and if they do, they have no hands. They're wide receivers and they have crab claws for hands.
I wonder if Isaiah Bond can do that because he's definitely got the speed to do something.
I saw something in today's game when they did, the third end around reverse. And Bond was the guy who ended up with the ball, and he tried to do a shake and bake, and just went right through him.
He just picked a center point and drilled it into
exactly.
It's like, okay, move all you want to. It's like, all right, I'm just going to aim right for the middle.
He's straight line fast. And when he runs the fly pattern, that's great. I think what you saw from Dylan Sampson is a little bit more giddy up and go as far as off, and then really pick up speed as he goes down the field. You got to be able to cut and accelerate, and that's a rare skill as well.
Okay, I got a trivia question for you guys. It relates to kickoff returners. Who still leads the Green Bay Packers in number of kickoff returns for a touchdown? And he was active during 1967 to 1970. And he still leads the Packers.
I'm trying to think who the kickoff returner.
Quite famous in the time because he did like 2 in one game.
I was never a big Packers fan.
Yeah, but they used to fucking beat our ass in the playoffs every year back then.
Who?
Travis Williams.
Wow, I would never have pulled that out of my ass.
Tell me you guys don't remember Travis Williams. He had 5 touchdowns.
Don't remember Travis Williams.
Wow.
The name is Cordarrelle Patterson. I was trying to figure out who Jeffrey was thinking of. Cordarrelle Patterson. Who knows why Kevin
the guy
likes
who played for the Steelers.
Yeah, right. Yep.
It was Cordell Stewart. Yes.
Oh, God.
Make it stop.
Yeah. So, again, Shedeur was only sacked twice. But the fact that the pressure was on him when he had 88 yards to gain and only a minute and 48 seconds or whatever to do it, that was the end of that because we just don't have the verticality capability.
Have no 2-minute drill.
No, obviously not. No. And, and hey, Corey Bojorquez got a passing attempt in, but of course, another
was that a Luke Whippler
special teams? Yeah.
Was that a Luke Whippler bad snap or was that Bojorquez dropping
like
the ball?
It looked like it hit the ground and skipped in.
It looked like a Chuck Knobloch to Bojorquez on the play. Yeah, but
anyway. It was not pretty.
Yeah, it's and then there's Dylan Gabriel, 0 for 0, 0 yards, 0 average, 1 sack.
Oh well, didn't he look?
Let me back in. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to.
When he went in, didn't he look so much shorter and slower than Sanders did?
Oh my God, he looked like it was kind of like I don't know if you've seen the picture. I don't know if you saw the picture over there of the Heisman Trophy finalists, right? No, and they had the 4 players, and they had the running back from Notre Dame, and of course the guy from Indiana that won it, and then they had Julian Sand, and then they had Diego Pavia, and his stats say that he's 6 feet tall. he was legit 5 inches shorter than every other player out there. And I'm like thinking, 6 foot tall in your fucking dreams. He just looked like Dylan Gabriel. And then he was like, oh, this is bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like thinking, you are a fucking midget, dude. I mean, like, seriously, this guy is a little person. He's part of the Lollipop Guild. I'm thinking, I'm sure somewhere out there somebody's talking big about him rescuing their team. Please, God, do not let the Cleveland Browns draft this guy.
Correct.
Do you know that if
is
Dylan,
he crazy? Is he nuts on this?
I know. I'll address this in a minute. But if Dylan, this will go out of my mind if I don't say it. If Dylan Gabriel was a WWE wrestling star, do you know what he would say?
What would he say?
I can't see you.
No.
Thank you.
That was worth
Don't
having
forget
it go
to
out
set
of
your
your head.
waitress, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's my farewell to John Cena. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
This Big Lurker, isn't that incredible? This is a
That
group of
makes no
specialists
sense.
who have been outstanding all season. I'll tell you something. If I'm
Have
the
you
guy
been
with the
watching
fractured
games, though?
leg, if I'm the guy with the fractured fibula, I don't want to see your group of specialists.
No.
Fuck you.
No.
I mean, poor Quinshawn. We weren't our best. When have we been at our best? The only thing I can say is that our kicker, who I was so down on in the beginning of the season, has really
He's been
shown
the man.
he's really done well in the limited opportunities that he's had. Now, granted, he hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities to win games, but he's kicking the ball straight. He's not hooking them like he was. But, that's the
His
aborted
kickoffs
field
are
goal
really
try.
pretty solid too. The kickoff team has done okay since the debacle they had with the big, huge returns a couple weeks back.
Oh, nothing was worse than that Miami Texas A&M game, though.
Oh my
Jesus Christ!
You can't take Kevin Stefanski seriously anymore. I mean, he's delusional, and they just have to let him go. He's just goofy.
We got to check him for CTE at this point. He's not well. He's not well, man.
Yeah, my God. There you go, Ams. There you go. He'll be a jockey.
Yeah, he's going to the Breeders' Cup next week.
I can see from up here.
Good God.
Thank
And
you,
Big Lurker dislocated his ankle and fractured his fibula. That's by all right.
Well,
And there you have it from
somebody else is getting carried off now.
Look, and I'm sorry if somebody put this up earlier in the chat. It's not that I don't, when somebody their name is Earn Money Now.
You've been punked enough times in your 28-year career as Cleveland's doyen of sports podcasters. There you go.
Yeah, that's but yeah.
Can I mention something important though?
Yeah.
Actually important. We are now in Steelers week. Let's go out and fucking beat the Steelers for a change.
Now we're better off losing at this point. Let's get the highest draft picks we can get rid of the coach.
I'd rather beat the Steelers.
There's a reason why I'm going to be cheering for the Steelers, and I know this is sacrilegious.
It is.
But it's going to force Jimmy Haslam to either eat his 3-14. Sure as hell isn't going to cut it. Woo! That's not going to cut it at all. And the video is up there all over the place.
It's true. That's a good point.
And if they come back 3-14, then he's going to be called out. And that's, he can't keep the coach who goes 3-14 in back-to-back seasons. So I want the Browns to lose. So he is going to be living in a box, living in a cardboard box. Oh, sorry.
Living in a van. down
Yeah.
by the river.
Well, then the last game of the season is against the Bengals, and maybe both head coaches should be fired after that game. Maybe it can be a tie, and they can both get fired.
Well, they won't do that because part of it, that's the other part about living in Columbus. You get a lot of information about the Bengals as well.
That
And they
you
were
don't
talking
want.
about, yeah, I know. And they were talking about they don't really have like a regular general manager or like
No,
director of
they
player
got-
personnel. They have is actually a friend of the family. He's been there for 28 years or something like that. This guy is not getting fired. Okay.
Right.
There's no hope for that team. It is, they're stuck with Zach, and that's just the way it is. And until they get lucky and find somebody to go with on the defense, it's never going to be anything. And they at least they drafted some offensive linemen this year, so Burrow wasn't getting beat up immediately, but but yeah, that's going to be a brutal game to watch just because somebody has to win.
Somebody has to win that game.
Although I was really rooting for the tie last night with the Bears and or whatever that was. Was it
That would have made things mathematically more interesting.
Yeah, with the Bears and Pack.
What a
I
throw,
was
though!
really
What a
rooting for
throw! That, I mean, everyone
Oh.
was talking about the catch, but geez, oh weezo, Caleb Williams
Hell of a
throwing that.
throw. Well, the catch also because he was
Oh, yeah.
basically being tackled as he was catching the ball.
Yeah, it was. That's an amazing play to win a game on. Right now, Big Mo is on the Bears side, but I don't see the Bears. I'm going to say something about the Bears that I don't like, and that is that they're cheap shot artists. And I'm starting to see this more and more watching that team. They're getting overly cocky, and they're not that good yet. But right now, they're rolling. And
Wow.
But I remember the one year, this is also going back from my suitcase of memories, Cyndi Lauper, back when Tim Couch was the quarterback for the Browns, and we played a Bears team that was going through an incredible streak of last minute wins. And the game went into overtime, and they picked Couch in it was like a ridiculous play and ran it in for the touchdown. And it was like 3 or 4 games in a row they had won that way. The Bears didn't go anywhere in the playoffs that year because that isn't what wins in the bigger picture. That's not what wins. But right now, the Bears are hot. So, because that was like, you want to talk about a Hail Mary. He just threw that ball. He was twisting as he threw it and just fired it up in the air. And there it was. Wow.
Definitely had some arm strength there with Caleb Williams. Jeez. That guy can fire it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tony.
Was
I'm
Tony
sorry,
working?
Tony.
Did you
Sorry
forget
about that.
Tony.
Yeah, you
I
out
was
on the
gonna-
road?
Yeah, I'm just driving home from a buddy's house, but where we
We're
watched
on
the
the
games.
road again. What's
But I
up?
was gonna say, if Dylan Gabriel was a WWE wrestler, would his name be Can't Cena?
Oh. Hit it.
Wow.
Da, da, da,
But,
da.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds like something
Dylan
Robert
Gabriel
De
looks
Niro
like
would
one of
say.
the Make-A-Wish
That's
kids
pretty
that
good.
John Cena takes care of.
Wait,
all
was
the
that Browns game today? We were watching that. Was that like the closest game possible that you knew they weren't gonna win?
Absolutely.
Hey, Tony.
My buddy keeps telling me, "Oh my God, the Bills are only up by 3." I go, "It's the fucking Browns.
It's the
They're
fucking
not
Browns.
winning this.
They're not,
They're not winning this. There's no chance in hell."
I never got
Never
excited.
true.
I never got
No.
excited. It was like you, Tony, during the blowjob. Never got excited. I
Why do
never
you think I fell
believed.
asleep?
I never believed that the Browns were gonna
No.
we're gonna win that
No.
game.
No, 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 no.
So
We have a
Oh, well.
champion in women's Division I college volleyball.
Wisconsin.
No, they didn't make they made the Final Four.
they
They
didn't.
didn't make the final. It's
John
Texas A&M
can't see
who beat undefeated Nebraska last week. It had a 37-35 set, which is
No,
amazing.
it's not John can't see it. It's Juan can't see it.
All right.
man.
So, oh
I
my
think we've
God.
hit a lull here. We just ran over Joe Lull.
Yeah, I mean,
At least he didn't run over somebody. At least he'd run
somebody
over a
had to
fucking
do it for
parking-
God's sakes.
a parking barrier and a fucking drunk.
Yeah.
Fucking,
I was gonna say,
boy, I'll
man's
go
a
pull
danger
that
in a
one out of my
garage,
ass.
man.
We just endoed off the Tri-C parking lot.
You know, I peaked at Glenn Young, and I should have stopped
Glenn
right
Young.
there,
Yeah, really, that was
giving it a big booyah. And
the major grab. That's
Booyah.
I'm ashamed that Rick May isn't here because he would have remembered Travis Williams. But anyway,
he
somebody
would, especially if you were a recording artist.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's all I have to say. And I think we pretty well covered the ground, and that we're going to go into Pittsburgh week. And, I want us
Steeler
to
week.
lose the last two games. I don't want the team to have a better record, because the better record, we know how bad the team is, and I want to get rid of the coach. And you should too, because if he comes back, it's like,
No.
you know what it's like?
It's
I'll have
what's
my,
it like?
It's like
No.
having the Friday the 13th guy come back,
no,
Mike Myers,
Jason,
Jason.
Freddy Krueger. Yeah.
Dick Vitale would say, "Oh, baby, it's like cancer. It's like it just keeps coming back at you and keeps coming back at you. And the next thing you know, you're going back into your doctor's office and you rang a bell like 3 weeks earlier. And the next thing you know is, look what they found. It sucks."
You're ringing the bell again. Oh,
Yeah.
I got a message for Big Lurker out there. We're
Yeah.
only 5 points behind you, buddy. And he'll know what that means.
Yeah.
Ipswich versus Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I think they're number 2. We're number 3, and that means all the difference in the world.
Big Lurker, thank you for that great
But
Stefanski
we love
quote.
you.
The show wouldn't have been complete without him explaining how his special teams players were specialists. I think they're special.
They're special.
Short pause.
Corky snapping the football. I didn't know that I was supposed to snap it on a certain count number. They gotta tell me about it.
Yeah, those
What-
extra chromosomes come in handy, don't they?
You know what is really weird about some of the stupid voices I do?
What?
Is they get blurred. Like, Corky can easily. Oh, baby, let me tell you something. You see,
Dick Vitale, yeah.
there's a thin line between Corky and Vitale.
Oh, there's a very thin line between your Elmer Fudd and Mike Tyson, too.
Yeah, except you got to go higher. You just got to go higher. If Elmer Fudd came up to somebody and said, "I'm going to shoot you, motherfucker," then, but Elmer Fudd, I can't even do Elmer Fudd, but he's lower. Like that. He's lower, right?
Have wascally wabbits.
Yes, exactly, Rick. Short bus. That's what
Quickly
we use.
before
I'm sorry.
we go, Mark, were you pretty happy like the rest of the world that Jake Paul got his ass kicked?
Oh, I'm going to start out the program
we'll talk about
tomorrow
that
with a
tomorrow,
whole
yeah.
thing about Jake Paul, because there is an angle to this story that I wanted to cover. So
Okay.
Yeah,
if you're around tomorrow, Tony, just make sure that you're here for the beginning of the show and you remind me, because
don't worry,
up here-
I'll remind you if I'm around. If
I'm
I'm
good
not
with the-
napping.
the Glenn Young stuff I'm good at because it was a long time ago, but the shit that I think about doing the next day I forget. That's where that
I'm
short-term
I'm
memory
at
loss.
work. I'll be at work, but I'll make sure to log in and put in the chat that, hey, talk to
Hey.
Jake Paul.
Excellent. I appreciate
All
it.
right.
Hammer Time, thank you. Moose, thank you. Tony, thank you. thank you for all the support from Browns fans. I hope you understand you don't take to heart everything that I say or the way that I say things, but I hope you understand that the things that I say are predicated on my personal business experiences and what I see going wrong for this Cleveland Browns team. And I don't want them to hit the same patch of bad road that they have been hitting with the decisions they've made for all of these years. I know I'm probably hoping against hope, but let's hope for a new head coach and go that way. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow on Moohead Radio at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Until then, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.